YouTube.
We're live now on YouTube.
Awesome.
All right. This is episode 99 of the Battle of Ohio podcast. The Bengals are the it team right now. Everybody wants to join. Everybody wants to come back. Everybody wants to be a familiar face. Everybody wants to get on the Bengals bandwagon, and I love it. The Browns are hearing from a familiar face themselves, although that part is much less pleasant, and we'll talk about that because that's not good if you're a Browns fan. Finally, the Steelers are caught up in quarterback draft talk because why, Thomas?
Because Pittsburgh still suck. You suck, Pittsburgh. You suck, Pittsburgh.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Shit.
I should have had the thing up. Hold up. This isn't even going to sound any good now because we got all that. But nobody's watching anyway, so you know. All right. So I'm gonna try this one more time. All right. So Thomas, the Steelers are in the middle of quarterback draft talk because why, Thomas?
Because Pittsburgh still sucks.
That's right. Because the Steelers still suck.
All right. So we are now live on TikTok. We are now officially live on TikTok. So you go ahead and start playing that music.
Is it not playing?
No, it's not playing.
Oh, that's weird. Well, it's on It always does it on my. That always works on my live streams. I don't know why it's not working.
Anyway, we are live on TikTok right now. So so Kyle, bring out the punches. This is our practice round.
Live on TikTok and on YouTube. So, all right, what do you want to start with first, Thomas? You want to talk about the Bengals news or Browns news? Actually, first, before we get to that, what are you drinking tonight?
Today, I'm drinking just some regular Coke out my dad mug. This is really good. It's regular Coke.
That sounds awful. Hey, Coke.
Oh, have you ever drink Coke?
Yes, I've had Coke. I hate Coke.
Yeah, I had Coke and it just went up my nose. You just it hurts.
That's the worst.
By the way, happy snow day. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, sort of, except I don't get paid, but you know, it is what it is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, so
I'm sorry for your loss of money.
I'm drinking a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale because, quite honestly, Thomas, this is the only thing I have left in my fridge.
That's great.
Actually, that's not true. I do have one more. I had two, and I didn't really have anything special to say about either of them, so I just picked one of them. So whichever. So the other one, I will eventually be drinking as well. That one will be the one that I'll drink for the next episode when we got Sir Yacht on.
All right. Anyway, I'm just checking the stream out right now, making sure it sounds great. There's a little feedback, so I'm gonna put this over here.
Well, we do have one person watching, but I think that might be you.
No, we have 3 people watching on TikTok. Somebody said 500 people for a song on your album. Okay, somebody saying 500 viewers. How's the audio quality?
The audio quality from my end sounds good. I mean, you keep kind of cutting out at weird points, but I mean, it's crisper audio than you normally have.
All right, let's get started. Let's get started on these topics. Everything's good. Everybody saying everything's good on the everybody saying everything's good on the TikTok. So let's get rolling. I'm ready.
All right, cool. Well, you'll have to keep up with the TikTok because I'm watching it on YouTube. It says we got one person watching on YouTube. So whoever you are on YouTube, leave a comment in StreamYard and or in the what's it called in the box, and I'll bring it up on StreamYard. But anyway, Thomas, like I said, what do you want to get into first? You want to get into Browns or Bengals?
Let's get into Browns.
We got to talk about both, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, let's get into Browns first. No, let's get into Bengals first. Let's get into Bengals first.
Oh,
no, let's get into Browns first. No. Hue Jackson. We got to get into Hue Jackson. So we got to start off talking about Hue Jackson.
the big gigantic news of the NFL week, which I believe we might have talked about on the last podcast, but the big gigantic news of the NFL week is Brian Flores is suing the NFL. It should have been Tom Brady retiring, but this bombshell dropped at the same time. So one of the accusations, one of the biggest accusations he makes, other than the one about the racism, which that's a big deal, but it's not really quite as permeating over to the Browns as much as the other big accusation that he makes, which is that the NFL, some NFL teams, or at least one NFL team, he accused the Dolphins of encouraging him and actually paying him money to tank football games. Which, as you know, Thomas, is like one of those, like a big no-no to ever, either do in the NFL. I mean, it's illegal to do stuff like that because of like sports betting and stuff like that. But on top of that, it's just, the NFL absolutely in no way, shape, or form can be like, no, this is not going. They have to be like, this is not going on. Yeah. Nobody would, in their right mind, would ever admit to that, except for somebody like Brian Flores, who is trying to sue the NFL. So he is saying that the Dolphins paid him $100,000 per loss to tank. And then Hue Jackson got on board and was like, hey, yeah, me too. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of believe both of them, Thomas.
Okay, so I'm not going to say, by the way, if you're watching this on TikTok, tell me in the comment section if you believe Hue Jackson or if you believe Brian Flores. I'm not going to say that I believe Hue Jackson exactly, but I would say I believe Brian Flores. So I'm not sure, man. It's kind of sketchy. I ain't gonna lie. It's kind of sketchy.
Well, the common wisdom when it comes to tanking in the NFL is that coaches don't tank, players don't tank, front offices tank. So it's not surprising to hear that there are front offices out there that are invested in tanking, which makes sense to me because they're not the ones who have to be emotionally out there, emotionally invested in the day-to-day winning kind of product. Whereas coaches and players in no way, shape, or form are ever going to want to tank or anything like that. So it's not surprising to me that a team like the Dolphins, for example, we'll talk about the Browns too, but a team like the Dolphins, for example, which was making a lot of moves at the time, which seemed to be geared toward tanking because they kept trading away all their players and stocking draft picks and stuff like that. And there was that whole tank for Tua thing and everything like that. And, even going on further, once the Bengals kind of overtook the number one pick, there was a lot of talk about trading that pick so that they could go get Joe Burrow. And there was actually talk about that after, like in Brian Flores accusations, he was saying that's what they were in fact trying to do, which makes me happy as a Bengals fan that we lost that game because, oh boy, if we had not got Joe Burrow, we would not be where we are today. But as far as Hue Jackson and the Browns go, I believe Hue Jackson saying that the Browns either encourage. I didn't see his exact comments, but did he say he was encouraged or paid to tank, Thomas?
He said that he was paid to tank. Is what I'm hearing. You believe you? I don't believe it.
I believe that because, at the time, you got to remember. Let's see, Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel was he drafted by Hue Jackson? Was he drafted by Mike Pettin?
Johnny Manziel was drafted by what's his face? Johnny Manziel was drafted by Jimmy Haslam.
No, the coach, the regime.
Oh no, Johnny Manziel was drafted by Mike Pettin.
Yeah. So Johnny Manziel was drafted by Mike Pettin. So Hue Jackson, I'm not shocked to hear that Hue Jackson was essentially brought in to tank. I mean, you saw Deshaun Kaiser responded to that accusation by Hue Jackson, and he was just like, whoa, look at this. But Deshaun Kaiser. Deshaun Kaiser didn't say, this isn't true. This isn't possibly true. Deshaun Kaiser was just like, oh, hold on a minute. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It just kind of seems like something that, because the Browns were so desperate at the time to get something going, and they're constantly shifting. They're constantly never able to stay in one place. They're constantly turning over. And that seems to be what their entire like organization has been built on. So it doesn't surprise me at all that the Browns front office had the mindset of tanking, and that they brought that up with Hue Jackson, who basically appears to have been brought in as like, you know, like a lamb for the slaughter. Like Hue Jackson never really seemed like, and I said this at the time because obviously he was my team's offensive coordinator. I said Hue Jackson really shouldn't go take that job because the Browns are setting themselves up for failure. I didn't necessarily think that they were doing it intentionally, but the more he talks about it, the more I'm like, maybe they kind of knew that they were going to be bad and they just wanted to get the maximum product that they could out of being bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny about that. What's funny about that. I think that he was given an extension, and that's the whole thing that trips me about this whole thing, and that's the whole argument against it. Is that, hey, this guy, they extended this guy so he get paid. Excuse me. They extended this guy because he executed the plan right. So if he executed the plan correctly, then why are we firing him? And so they didn't fire him because he executed the plan correctly because he was paid to take.
That was the other thing I was going to say why I believe it, because why the hell else would you ever like extend a guy and bring a guy back who went 0-16? When they brought him, he went 0-16, and when the Browns brought him back, I was thinking, how the hell, like, whether or not you believe in Hue Jackson as a coach, there's no way that you can bring a guy back who didn't win a single game all year and still have that team believing in you. There's no way that works. So the only reason Hue Jackson got brought back in my eyes is because they figured, hey, we might as well lose some more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get some better draft positioning. Like that's the main reason why I believe Hue Jackson is because he got extended after going 0-16.
I just this whole thing is crazy to me. And I just feel like Hue Jackson, to me though, it still feels like Hue Jackson is just trying to cash out. And that's the whole thing for me. Like I just feel like it just doesn't feel right to me.
I mean, I don't know if I don't know about that. Like, I mean, I get it because, like, he's attacking your team and he's said, not so nice things about being employed by your team. But I think that there's a reason why he was, why he's been saying these things this whole time, because, that whole tenure, Hue Jackson in Cleveland, it never really felt right to me. I kind of felt the same way about Freddie Kitchens. I feel like he got done a little bit dirty by Cleveland too. And I felt the same way about Mike Pettin. I felt the same way about, most of the coaches that the Browns have had. Every time that those guys get let go, I think, God damn, they got done kind of dirty, didn't they?
Yeah, no, I might be real with you. I honestly think that the problem is the Haslams. I think the Haslams are the problem. I think that the common problem here, the common dog here is the Haslams. The Haslams are the ones, and I think that's the problem.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, you gotta think about this from the perspective of, like, I mean, think about this guy's history as a businessman. I mean, how he got his start as a businessman and gained enough money to go buy the Browns in the first place, right? He was the Flying J guy. And Flying J got, like destroyed, not destroyed. Obviously they're still going, but I mean, they got like investigated and like really hardcore looked at for a fraud scheme by pilot Flying J. And so you're telling me the guy who basically like was in charge of that as that was happening and was basically overseeing all that shit. You're telling me that guy is just, like the pinnacle of integrity when it comes to NFL ownership? I don't buy that at all.
I don't buy it at all either. And I think that it's indicative of what's going on. And I think it's indicative that the Haslams should sell that team, because I don't think the Haslams are good owners.
I don't think so.
I think
the reason, and And I know this is a bit of a stretch, but I'm a big soccer fan. At the time, before Cincinnati got its own soccer team, I was a big fan of the Columbus Crew, and then there was all that talk about them moving to Austin, Texas, and then Jimmy Haslam came in and he bought the team, and I think, Thomas, that the only reason that Jimmy Haslam bought the Columbus Crew, because I kind of thought it was kind of weird at the time, like the Browns owner is buying the soccer team in Columbus. Why? But I think, Thomas, that the reason that Jimmy Haslam bought the Columbus Crew is purely and utterly as just, something to make him more popular in the state of Ohio, because he knew that, his reputation was getting like slaughtered by Browns fans. And he knew that he wasn't going to be able to do a good job as the Browns owner. He knew he was going to employ things, like I said, like tanking for the sake of, trying to like basically tanking the Browns and tanking their reputation so that, hopefully in the future he could have all these assets to put together a really strong team. But he knew that he needed to like engender some goodwill to like offset the need for the Brown, or to offset, all the bad will that is garnered from tanking. And that's without that's tanking and not getting caught for it. If you tank and you get caught for it, nobody likes you. But I mean, if you tank and you don't get caught, people just think you're an idiot. But if you go buy the Columbus Crew and you keep them in Ohio, then a bunch of people in Ohio are like, oh, the Haslams. I'll even admit, I was like, oh my God, Jimmy Haslam, you just bought the Crew and you saved them from going to Austin, Texas. I kind of want to root for the Browns now. I can't because I'm a Bengals fan, but I almost kind of did.
A lot of people like that. A lot of people like what the Haslam did by buying the. A lot of people like what the Haslam did by buying the Crew. I liked what they did. I thought it was genuine. I was like, oh, look at these guys. Look at these genuine owners, right?
Yeah.
And then, they constantly have this function around them. And so you're saying, why do we keep on having this function around this team? What's causing this function? The Haslams. Why does this function follow them? Why does this energy follow them so much? It's because they're the Haslams.
Because he's a former Steelers owner.
Well, that's another question. How did they even let that happen?
Well, to be fair, Thomas, he bought a minority interest in the Steelers in 2008, and 2012 was when he bought the Browns. So it's not like he was with the Steelers for a very long time.
It's just frustrating that we even let that happen. It's so frustrating that that's the thing that he gets to own the Browns.
Well, in fairness, he did. The NFL did force him to sell his interest in the Steelers when he bought the Browns. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's not weird, it's not shady, but I am saying, like, it's not like he's it's not like he's invested in the Steelers while being a Browns owner.
Don't you just hate that though? I mean, like, how does the owner of the Steelers, a former owner of the Steelers, own the Browns? How do we let that happen? How do y'all let that happen, NFL?
Well, is it that much worse NFL? Is it that much worse than Randy Lerner? I mean, he wasn't exactly doing a great job with the Browns.
He wasn't. No. He wasn't. What frustrates me about Jimmy Haslam the most though is that a lot of people. I speculate that Jimmy Haslam was one of the people who wanted Baker Mayfield to play during the injury.
Yeah, I agree with that. I fully agree with that.
Because I just don't think Kevin Stefanski wanted Baker Mayfield to play.
No, of course he didn't, because Kevin Stefanski comes from, the Mike Zimmer school of the way of doing things. And there's no way on the planet, especially with the relationship that Kevin Stefanski has with Case Keenum, there is no way on the planet that Kevin Stefanski thought that it was a good idea for Baker Mayfield to go out there with a torn labrum that has absolutely no way of making any sense. I'm betting you anything. Like, Baker Mayfield wanted to prove he was tough. He wanted to play, et cetera, et cetera. And that's bad on Baker Mayfield, boo on Baker Mayfield. But what I bet you happened, Thomas, and I have no evidence for this is just speculation on my part, so I don't know, call me what's that? Call me Joe Rogan, I guess. I don't know. But my speculation on what happened with Baker Mayfield was Baker Mayfield got it up his ass, and he was like, "Oh, I don't worry, I can go play. I'm a tough guy." Blah 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 blah. And then he brought it up with Kevin Stefanski, and Stefanski's like, "No, no, you're not going out there and playing. We got a perfectly capable backup, and you're like you're our future. We don't want to jeopardize your future. Take some time off, go rest, and who knows, maybe he'll rehab in time enough to come back for like a playoff run or something like that." Baker's very hard-headed individual, and he probably doesn't want to do that. So he's like, okay, well, if you're not going to let me do that, I'm going to go talk to the big boss and go over your head on this one. So he probably went to, maybe he went to Jimmy Haslam. That'd be interesting if he went to Jimmy Haslam, because Jimmy Haslam's so far over top of everything. But he could have gone to Jimmy Haslam. But it was either Jimmy Haslam or the general manager.
I totally think he went to Jimmy Haslam, man. I totally think he went to Jimmy Haslam. I totally think that he.
Considering it was a very bad decision, it just seems like a Jimmy Haslam type decision. Yes,
it just feels. You're talking about the same guy that took advice from a homeless guy to drive Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
Can you give me like 5 seconds?
To be fair, Johnny Manziel's style of play is very similar to Patrick Mahomes. It's just Patrick Mahomes is much better at it.
Okay, can you look, Kyle? Can you carry the podcast for like 5 seconds? I gotta go take a tingle.
Oh, okay, that's totally fine. I can't do too much. All the people watching are apparently on TikTok, but we got one person watching on YouTube. So whoever you are, leave a comment, and I'll put you up on the screen. If you're watching on TikTok and you leave a comment, I'm sorry, I'm probably going to miss it. But yeah, man, just I don't know what to tell you about the Browns. I just think I do agree with Thomas. I think Jimmy Haslam makes a lot of really bad decisions. I think there's something to be said. Like, I know a lot of Browns fans are pushing back against Hue Jackson, claiming that they were doing a lot of tanking, but it makes sense to me the way that whole thing kind of went down. And I don't know. I've never known, like, Hue Jackson took the awful Raiders to 8-8. There's no way that, the Browns didn't kind of try to encourage, that 0-16 season. It's just so rare that something like that happens. And the Browns had way more talent on their team than like the 08 Lions, for example. So I don't know. Just I believe I'm not saying every single thing about what he said is always going to be true or anything like that, but I tend to believe both Brian Flores and Hue Jackson in this situation where their organizations were genuinely trying to get them to tank. It makes sense to me. If you have another argument, like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, let me know in the comments and tell me why you think otherwise. I'll put you up on the screen. And Thomas is getting ready to come back here in a second, and that's great. And Thomas, if you see anybody make a comment, make an argument against why the Browns were not trying to tank with Hue Jackson, then by all means, let me know. But from what I can tell, it makes too much sense to me. The Browns are like such a dysfunctional organization that seems like it fits just right in to the way that they're doing things. Hello, Thomas. Oh, he's still getting his stuff on. All right. Yeah. All right. So moving right along then, unless you have anything else to say about the Browns, Thomas.
Yeah.
No, you're cutting out real badly. Hello? All right, so apparently Thomas can't hear me, and we can't hear Thomas, so. All right, well, I guess let's just go ahead and move on to the Bengals then. Bengals going to the playoffs, everybody. Playoffs. Bengals going to the Super Bowl, everybody. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with Thomas, and my brain's kind of lost here. But the Bengals are going to the Super Bowl, everybody, and I imagine most people from Thomas's TikTok are probably Browns fans, so y'all probably don't love to hear that, but they are. And, just from my perspective, even if I wasn't looking at this from the perspective of a Bengals fan, even if it wasn't the Bengals in the Super Bowl, it's somebody other than Patrick Mahomes, somebody other than Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady or, some dominant AFC team. Who knows? Maybe the Bengals will get there eventually, but right now that's not necessarily the case. So The big news coming from the Bengals camp this week. And it's not even really news. It's more so just like kind of a thought process that's probably not really actually going to turn into anything. But Tyler Eifert, the Bengals' former tight end, former Pro Bowl tight end, former great tight end. He just had a bunch of injury issues. He's been lobbying all week on Twitter, trying to get himself back into the Bengals organization to try to make this last playoff run with us. Which, obviously he's ring chasing, obviously, et cetera, and obviously it's probably not going to happen. That seems like kind of a wild thought process. Like, I don't even know when the last time he played in the NFL was. Actually, on that note, I know he played for the Jaguars for a minute, and that didn't go so well. Okay, so he's just been a free agent for this year. So he could still be in football shape. It is possible, but it was probably just kind of a lighthearted thing. He posted a picture of a GIF of the Avengers, and and that was his response to somebody being like, well, let's get Tyler Eifert back here and have him pair him with T and Jamar, TB and CJ, and that would be awesome. The problem is if the Bengals did have any legitimate shot of signing him for the Super Bowl, it would be because CJ Uzomah is not expected to play. Jamar, TB, and CJ, and that would be awesome. And the problem is, what's going on, Thomas?
Hey man, you're killing it.
Audio interference coming on there.
Sorry. Is there any more audio interference?
Yeah, there's a ton of audio interference from you got some speakers going on or something.
Ugh. No, I don't.
That didn't help.
I suck at life right now.
Can you mute it?
Audio interference.
Yes, I can. Here, let me just do that.
Okay, well, we lost Thomas again. Okay, and we're down to 0 viewers on YouTube. I pretty much expected that. All right, but man, Tyler Eifert, how cool would that be for real if Tyler Eifert was able to come back and he was, even half of the player that he used to be for the Bengals. It's like CJ Uzomah. If he doesn't come back, we're really kind of missing that wild card element to our offense, and that would just be awesome. I can hear you perfectly now, by the way.
All right, awesome. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do a million things at once. This is why this is a practice round. So tune in next time, you guys. When by the way, you were killing it when I was just figuring out my life. But tune in next week, guys.
I was just kind of riffing, but
no, you was killing it, man. You was there talking about CJ Uzomah. There are 3 people watching on TikTok right now. So hey, y'all know your favorite Bengals players. Mine is CJ Uzomah,
who is hurt and might not play in the Super Bowl.
But his name is so gangster, Uzomah. Imagine playing defense, right? And then you trying to block somebody, right? And then you see this big ass tight end coming your way. You're like, I'm Uzomah. I'm gonna get out the way. I'm gonna go right ahead, Mr. Uzomah.
His name is Uzomah, so
Uzomah.
Okay. You're gonna get it one of these days. I believe in you.
Uzomah, dude. How psyched are you about the Super Bowl? By the way, how psyched are you about the Super Bowl?
Dude, I don't even know if it's really fully set in. Honestly, I'll be driving around in my truck in the morning, and it'll just kind of hit me occasionally. I'll just be like, "Holy fuck, the Bengals are playing the Super Bowl." But it's still it's mostly just so surreal, It's just but this thing that I kept thinking could possibly happen through the last 15 years or so when the Bengals have been kind of up and down. And in their up years, I've been thinking, hey, if they just do this, and that, and everything falls in place in line and everything works out perfectly, then maybe the Bengals could go to the Super Bowl. And I'm putting together all these I'm using the ESPN playoff machine and making graphics and stuff like that, putting imagining, oh, what if the Bengals were in the Super Bowl? And now they're actually in. And I'm slowly kind of coming to the realization that it's a real thing and not just some concept that I came up with in my head.
Dude, isn't that amazing? I can't wait to have that feel with the Browns. Hopefully with Baker Mayfield. who I keep on defending for some reason, but keep on getting burned for defending.
Well, I mean, I keep defending Baker Mayfield too. I don't get burned as hard though because he's not my quarterback. So
that's whatever.
I get laughed at, but I mean, I really do genuinely believe that Baker Mayfield has what it takes to succeed in the NFL. He needs the right kind of support, and I felt like Kevin Stefanski was the right coach to bring him that support. But the problem is, I wonder if Kevin Stefanski is going to be properly supported by the Browns enough to offer him that support.
Yeah, it's so frustrating, and then now you got people out here saying that they should draft one of these. Now you got people out here saying that they should draft one of these quarterbacks that are in the Senior Bowl. Some people like that Kenny Pickett kid. I think he might go to the. What's it called? The Steelers.
Yeah, he's maybe. It depends. I'm almost kind of like half. Like, I've got this thought process that honestly we should probably save the majority of this discussion for later. But I've got this idea in my head that it really feels like to me the Steelers are going to pursue a veteran quarterback, and they're not necessarily going to go with somebody in the draft. I mean, maybe they will. Maybe that's the reason that Kevin Colbert's sticking around through the draft is so he can go get the right quarterback. But it would seem weird to me that he's going to retire after the draft, and he's not going to stick around for the development of a quarterback. So I mean, I'm kind of back and forth on that. But I mean, let's wait to really talk about that till the state of the AFC North later, because I got a couple things I want to say about the Steelers and their quarterback situation.
I got you. Anything else on the Bengals besides? How about this though? Joe Burrow and Evan McPherson jerseys. You can't buy them.
Well, the Evan McPherson jerseys, that's the crazy one. It's like the fucking Kickers jersey. Like, you can't buy the jersey.
Well, he's also he's a Harry Potter Kickers.
Thomas, custom jerseys. I said this on a previous episode, but I'll say it again. Custom jerseys have been sold out.
Yeah, that's unfair.
Because of the kicker.
That's the best part of making a jersey is customizing them.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I've never had a custom jersey because they're a lot more expensive. But the point is, people are so desperate to get an Evan McPherson jersey that they're buying the custom jerseys so that they can put his name and number on there.
You got to get an Evan McPherson jersey.
I mean, I might get one day, but I'm happy with my Joe Burrow jersey, to tell you the truth. And my next jersey is probably going to be a Jamar Chase jersey. So
Jamar Chase is insane though. See, I'm falling in love with your team, and I'm a Browns fan. I got this Browns hat on. I'm like, come on, Browns. This is not fun. Do better. I got the Cavs.
Oh, it's fun for me.
Shut up.
But then again, it was fun for you last year. You were having fun last year, and I was.
Man, I know. But you're having more fun than I had last year, man. Well, you know how dumb I'll be right now if the Browns are in the Super Bowl. Baker, you got one job. Baker. It's fine. No panic. Okay. So what's the next topic?
I don't. Well, how much about the Bengals did you hear? Because you thought I was talking about Uzomah, but I wasn't talking about entirely about CJ Uzomah. Did you hear the topic I was talking about?
What's going on? What's going on with the Bengals?
Well, I mean, it's really more of a fun topic. It's not really a super serious topic, but
not like Hue Jackson's jackass. Sorry.
Well, yeah, no, I meant like it's not actually going to happen, kind of serious. But Tyler Eifert has been lobbying on Twitter to get the Bengals to re-sign him, so that he can jump on for the Super Bowl.
Tyler Eifert, you can't get on the bandwagon now that they're going to win a Super Bowl.
What are you talking about? He got like cut.
Yeah,
he never renounced his Bengaldom. He just the Bengals decided I don't want you anymore. and now CJ Uzomah's hurt. I'm not saying it's going to happen because he hasn't played all year and who knows if he's in football shape or not. But CJ Uzomah's hurt. So I mean, if Tyler Eifert was in football shape, then why the hell not bring in Tyler Eifert? I mean, maybe CJ Uzomah makes it back for the Super Bowl. That would be awesome if he did. But if not, why not just sign Tyler Eifert to the practice squad and have him be ready just in case? But then again, Thad Moss. I believe Thad Moss is over his injury. So I mean, the most logical thing would be is if CJ can't go, then you call up Thad Moss and have him be the potential receiving threat at tight end if need be.
Yeah. Dude, well, I mean, you do have Drew Samples. Is he still hurt?
He was never hurt. He's just bad.
Damn. I didn't think he was that bad last year. Okay, well, he was that bad last
year. He's not horrible. He brings some, what do you call it, like benefit as a blocker. Like, he can pick up blitzes okay, and he can like run block okay. He's not really the best at he's not really the best receiving tight end. He's not very good at all at getting open. If he happens to be open, he catches the ball maybe about like if Joe Burrow throws a perfect pass to Drew Sample and he's wide open, Drew Sample catches the ball about 70% of the time. So it's like, he does have value as a blocker. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you're replacing CJ Uzomah is a good blocker, but CJ Uzomah has also like kind of established himself, which is weird because this was not like when the Bengals drafted him, they drafted him to be a blocking tight end. But he kind of developed a lot of chemistry with Joe Burrow early on, and he's kind of become this kind of like gadget like tight end. And the Bengals don't really use a lot of tight end formations in their passing attack, but they sometimes they do, and Uzomah's often like a reliable target when like nobody else is open. So that's why I say like maybe bring Thad Moss up, because like Joe Burrow doesn't really seem to have that chemistry with Drew Sample. And I don't know if he still has that chemistry with Thad Moss, but he had that chemistry with Jamar Chase. So I mean, why couldn't it be easily and quickly rekindled with Thad Moss? I mean,
I don't think why not.
I mean, it's a bit of a long shot. I would never suggest that the Bengals should pull up Thad Moss like on a normal day just because of that maybe kind of thought process. But if CJ Uzomah can't go in the Super Bowl and you have an extra roster spot, then why not?
How old is Thad Moss?
How old is Thad Moss? He's got to be like maybe 21.
23. Yeah, man, he might, so maybe we haven't seen the best of him yet.
Well, of course we haven't seen the best of him. He was an undrafted free agent, and he's been hurt most of the time he's been in the NFL. Of course we haven't seen the best of him. I don't know if he's played a regular season game for the Bengals. I think he played like one or two for the Washington football team. But I don't know if he played much. Or I'm sorry, the Washington Commanders. But they were the Washington football team. God, what a dumb name.
Yeah, what a dumb name.
What a
By the way,
freaking name, dude. Like,
a
lot of people are slamming them for their uniforms. I think their uniforms are fine, but the name is stupid. Like, I honestly, compared to Commanders, I'd rather than just keep the Washington football team, because that's at least unique. I mean, it's boring, but it's unique.
Yo, okay, so all right. So other thing is, I mistakenly said that Harbaugh was hired by the Vikings. They didn't hire him.
Yeah, everybody, you and everybody else on the planet thought that. I thought that Jim Harbaugh was hired by the Vikings. They actually hired what was his name? It was like some coordinator dude. What was his name?
How did they muff that?
Kevin O'Connell.
How did they muff that?
The Rams offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell, who I, by the way, Thomas, had never heard of. I did not know who the Rams offensive coordinator was. I thought that the Rams, because this is what Zach Taylor at the time was like a co-offensive coordinator for the Rams. He was like the passing game coordinator or something like that. Kind of like Frank Pollock, our offensive line coach, is our run game coordinator in Cincinnati. Zach Taylor was the quarterback coach and the passing game coordinator, but they didn't really have an offensive coordinator. So I'm kind of like, I didn't know they had an offensive coordinator. I thought Sean McVay just like hired another passing game coordinator. But I guess, the Rams offensive coordinator is getting hired by the Vikings, which fair enough. But the only reason the Rams offense has really done all that well this year is because they brought in Matt Stafford. That's not too hard to replicate.
Yeah.
What is Kevin O'Connell?
Well, I mean, finding Matt Stafford is pretty hard to replicate, though.
Well, sort of. Going and getting like an elite quarterback is. I mean, it's. I'm not saying it's easy to get an elite quarterback, but there's 32 teams in the NFL, and there's always like 5 or 6 elite quarterbacks in the NFL at any given time. So I mean, you got like, what would that be? You got like a 20% chance of getting an elite quarterback in the NFL, like a little under a 20% chance of getting an elite quarterback in the NFL. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying that it's a pretty simple process. Like, you got to go find the right guy. But I wouldn't say that Kevin O'Connell is necessarily like going and get Matt Stafford. That's just obvious. He's like, you look at him in Detroit, you're like, wow, he's really good. And he's got nothing going on for him. And oh shit, it sounds like he wants out. What if we went and got him? That's the whole thought process. Like, you don't need to be like some master coach to go figure that one out.
Yeah.
I would give more credit to their general manager for pulling off that particular trade in the way they did.
All right. So, my whole thing though is I just think that Harbaugh is just going to eventually leave for the pros. I think it's coming. I don't think that he's staying in Michigan. It's going to be a mess next year at UM. It's about to be a real mess at UM next year.
I hope.
Well, as long as you don't coach the Browns, I'm going to regret those words one day, won't I?
Wait, why would he coach the Browns?
Oh no! Look, man, we already talked about the Haslam being the dumbest owners in the NFL.
Well,
if they hypothetically fired, Kevin Stancy, it would be the dumbest thing in the world to do. Don't even imagine that. I can see Haslam doing some stupid. I'm gonna get Harbaugh.
Dude, Thomas, if the Browns like you're my boy, right? To some extent, I do want the Browns to do well for your sake. Like, I appreciate you as a friend, and I want them to make you happy, and that's awesome. At the same time, if the Browns fire Kevin Stefanski, I'm gonna come on this podcast. I'm gonna be such a fucking dick. You don't even understand.
The Browns fire Kevin Stefanski. If the Browns fire Kevin Stefanski, I'm gonna be so pissed off. There's people in Cleveland who want Kevin Stefanski fired. But if they fire Kevin Stefanski,
that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
I swear to freaking God, they are that stupid. They are that stupid, Kyle. They're so stupid. Let's move on because I don't want to be depressed.
All right. Well, let's. We're approaching 45 minutes in on this podcast, so let's go ahead and move on to the state of the AFC North. So, you got anything you want to say about the Ravens? Because I don't really have anything.
I hate you, Lamar.
Why though? He's not any good. He got no reason to hate him.
I don't know. I got to get my daily fix of making fun of Lamar Jackson. I hate you, Lamar Jackson. Freaking running back, quarterback, hybrid, spider, coat, quarterback. Like, what are you? What are you, a running back? Are you a quarterback? What are you, Lamar Jackson?
Okay, then.
That's what you are.
Man, I give a shit about Lamar Jackson because I feel like the Bengals figured out Lamar Jackson last year. They just didn't have the personnel to capitalize on it, to actually put it all together. But the game plan that they put together against Lamar Jackson last year was a really solid one, and they just needed to put the right pieces in place to make that game plan work. But I'm not like, I'm kind of at the point where like I don't think that Lamar Jackson's gonna like do too much winning against the Bengals going forward. Like, I think the Bengals figured him out. And I think the league has figured Lamar Jackson out. I'm not saying the Ravens are never going to make the playoffs again under Lamar Jackson, but I am going to say there's going to be a little bit more struggling with Lamar Jackson than I think people are going to give it credit for. Like, I wouldn't be shocked to see them miss the playoffs again next year.
Dude, next year, next year the Ravens are gonna suck, man. All this stuff they're gonna be saying about Baker Mayfield gonna be true about Lamar Jackson.
Which is weird because they're not similar quarterbacks in any way, shape, or form.
But I don't understand why people aren't criticizing Lamar Jackson enough.
I'm confused. What's the issue?
I feel like we should be criticizing Lamar Jackson more. Why does Baker Mayfield get so much more criticism than Lamar Jackson?
Well, probably because Lamar Jackson won an MVP.
But what have he done for me lately?
No, I agree. I mean, but I am saying, like, in general, people view Lamar Jackson's ceiling as higher than Baker Mayfield's ceiling because what we've seen out of Baker Mayfield so far, at his best, he's pretty good. The best we've seen out of Lamar Jackson is basically fucking unstoppable. I don't think he's ever going to get there again, but, you know, people aren't so much looking at, like, you know, who the quarterback really truly is at their baseline. People are looking at their potential and what they could possibly be. And he's also on the Ravens, and people connect the Ravens with success. So they just automatically assume super talented Lamar Jackson on a very successful football team is going to equal lots and lots of success.
But what have Lamar Jackson really done though? Think about it. So all he done was won one playoff game and lost three. He lost 3 playoff games, 1-1. Baker Mayfield went to the playoffs once, but he won his first playoff game and almost won his second one. He was never blown out of playoffs like Lamar Jackson was 3 times in a row.
Well, Lamar Jackson has established himself as one of the single best regular season quarterbacks in the NFL.
I mean, not last year. He had 16 touchdowns to 15 turnovers. We ain't going to talk about that, though.
Well, how many rushing touchdowns did he have, though?
I mean, but, like, why does it matter if you turn the ball over 15 times? And Nick Chubb had 15 fumbles.
Well, there's a difference between 15 there's a difference between running backs fumbling the ball and quarterbacks throwing interceptions. Like, with how much like, I mean,
interceptions and fumbles though.
I don't think 15 interceptions isn't like a huge number though. I mean, like, it's high, but it's not like stupid.
Well, I mean, he only have 16 touchdowns for one, and for two.
Well, okay, but again, the Ravens are such a run heavy team.
And two, this was while he was healthy.
Okay, but again, the Ravens are such a run-heavy team. Like, of course he's not going to have a lot of passing touchdowns.
Well, that's the problem, because don't you need your quarterback to throw?
I mean, if it's working, it's working. Problem is this year it didn't work so well. It was. No, my point is it was.
But has it ever worked in the playoffs?
Like last year, well, it didn't really work in the playoffs. That's fine.
I mean, they beat the Titans, but who hasn't beat the Titans in the playoffs besides Tom Brady?
That's what I was saying, though. The Lamar Jackson is one of the greatest regular season quarterbacks in the NFL. Like I mean, at that point, you're ignoring what happens in the postseason. Obviously, what happens in the postseason is he's not very good in the postseason, but you know, he's like Andy Dalton with legs.
Yeah, pretty much. You long, dark-skinned lady, Andy Dalton.
Okay, I tell you what, I'm going to let you do that one over again if you want.
I am not going to try to attempt to do that over again.
Okay. All right. So then let's talk about the Steelers then. So, Thomas, I have been getting some, let's call it buzz. I don't have great sources when it comes to like people inside the NFL, but I do have sources. Again, not super hella reliable sources, but I do have sources. And there's a lot of buzz around the idea that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to pursue Jimmy Garoppolo as their next starting quarterback. Which I don't know about you, but I'm okay with that. That sounds fun.
But I'm also okay with that.
Yeah. Jimmy Garoppolo, that sounds good to me. Because the problem, Thomas, is there's not really a like great quarterback ready and waiting to be plucked out of the draft. There are some project quarterbacks that might turn into something, But the problem is, if you're going to go draft a quarterback, which the Steelers might draft a quarterback, they might go get Kenny Pickett, but Kenny Pickett is not necessarily, and they might have also screwed themselves out of Kenny Pickett by making the playoffs. That's part of the problem. But if they do go get somebody like Kenny Pickett or Carson Strong or whatever, that guy's not necessarily going to be ready year one. So you got to go get somebody. That's why it would have been nice if they could have started this process last year and had Ben Roethlisberger mentoring somebody. Then again, maybe Ben Roethlisberger is not the best mentor on the face of the planet. But sounds like Mason Rudolph isn't interesting in mentoring. Mason Rudolph wants to go win that job. If you're going to draft a quarterback, you pretty much have to say we're giving up on Mason Rudolph. That's not happening. And then you're going to have to go get a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo to bring along the next generation and probably have as the starter this year, kind of like a Trey Lance situation. Because I said, there isn't really that that guaranteed right away like elite level player like there has been in a couple of drafts lately.
Yeah, the Steelers are stuck, man, because they have a lot of holes in the just quarterback. So I think Jimmy Garoppolo will be a very solid piece that can be plugged in and used in the system, and the Steelers want to probably do something like find some way to win 8 games, something crazy like that. Because I think Jimmy Garoppolo gave them probably equal to amount of production that Ben Roethlisberger gave them, and they made a playoff for Ben Roethlisberger.
Considering the way Ben Roethlisberger played this year, I think Jimmy Garoppolo would actually be an upgrade over Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, exactly.
But the problem is, like, the thing that Ben Roethlisberger brings that no other quarterback in the NFL really brings is just that, like Ben Roethlisberger has always been such a master of creating things outside of structure in terms of like the play call and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, other quarterbacks in the NFL, especially a lot of young quarterbacks like Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes and, et cetera, and Josh Allen are really good at doing that, like creating things that are happen out of structure. But no quarterback that you're going to plug in for the Steelers next year is going to bring that. So it's like, is Jimmy Garoppolo more technically sound than Ben Roethlisberger? Yes. Has Jimmy Garoppolo kind of always been more technically sound than Ben Roethlisberger? Also, yes. Jimmy Garoppolo, however, is not as good as Ben Roethlisberger at finding weird ways to win. Like,
yeah, sure.
Like Jimmy Garoppolo just doesn't have that like killer mentality. That like, I mean, I hate to say it, because it makes me want to puke. But Ben Roethlisberger's got that killer mentality, and whether or not he's actually any good or not, he always found a way to make the weird thing happen. And Jimmy Garoppolo just doesn't do that. Like Jimmy Garoppolo gets carried by his team. Occasionally he'll make a play here and there, but for the most part, Jimmy Garoppolo is not the reason why he has been to 2 NFC championships. Like those 2 Niners teams were stacked, and the Steelers have some like young pieces to build around, but they're not stacked like the 49ers are stacked.
I think that if Jimmy Garoppolo was in the AFC, I don't know. I wonder how tough is Jimmy Garoppolo tough enough to be a part of the overly aggressive AFC North?
That's a good question. The Rams definitely rattled them, and the Rams definitely like at least on defense, the Rams are pretty damn tough. So, I mean, I don't know.
Is that so sunny in the Midwest, man? You got the rain, the snow. It's like the You Name It song. Rain, snow, sleet, tornadoes. You name it.
What the hell are you talking about?
The You Name It song from Thanksgiving. Anyway, that's all I got on the Steelers. We have 5 people watching on TikTok, by the way. Shouts to you all.
5 people on. All right. Well, whoever you are, I don't know if you can leave a comment on TikTok that Thomas will see, but if you can, do it. And Thomas, you should read it out.
I can see it. I can see anything they say.
Okay, so Jimmy Garoppolo's record against the Bengals, he appears to be 2-0. So as far as his record against AFC North teams goes,
I think he beat the Browns.
When did they play the Browns?
That was a game Joey Bosa or not Joey Bosa, Joey Bosa's little brother did the flag thing on Baker Mayfield after he sacked him.
Oh, right, yeah, 31-3. Yeah, that was an interesting game. Okay, so yeah, they played the AFC North in Jimmy Garoppolo's first year. In Jimmy Garoppolo's first year, they played the AFC North, and he went 3-1 against those teams. And then 2020, I don't believe they played any AFC North teams. Yeah, and then this year they played the Bengals and they beat us. So I mean, you question Thomas whether he's tough enough to play AFC North football, but he is 4-1 against the AFC North. To be fair.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. I think he do good. I think he do good here. I think he do real well. That's the thing that gets me. I think he's gonna do good. He's good in it, and that does kind of scare me.
I don't know. I think,
of course, he still is good.
I think Jimmy Garoppolo in Pittsburgh is like best case scenario for us.
I think it would be either a horrible travesty or they're going to be a very mediocre team.
I believe that, like, I mean, I know I said this about this year, but like, it ain't going to be too long before the Steelers have like a trash year, Thomas. Like, I thought it was going to be this year. Maybe I was a year too early. It hasn't been the first time I've been a year too early with making season predictions, but I picked the Steelers to go 3-14 this year. Obviously, they did much better than I thought they would, but it's coming, Thomas. It's coming. The Steelers are gonna like have one of those like 3-14, 4-13, fucking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 win seasons. It's coming. Maybe not 6, 5. 5 is the max of what I'm talking about. It's coming. I promise you, it's coming.
Personally, I'd rather Steelers stay mediocre. Like, I'd rather them stay mediocre than be really bad. Because they get really bad and get number one overall pick, they're probably going to find the next big quarterback watch. And they're going to be like, now I get this motherfucker. And like, this motherfucker here.
Well, I don't know about you, but I do not see too many quarterbacks in college that really inspire me for like what the future holds.
Maybe not this year.
Well, no, the next couple of years. I mean, like, obviously, like, Joe Burrow kind of like showed up out of nowhere in his senior year, and before that, he was kind of nothing. But from what I've seen so far, it's just like it doesn't look like it's going to be like great for at least a couple of years, as far as like drafting quarterbacks goes.
By the way, I got the oddest feeling that Baker Mayfield going to bounce back big next year. Actually, it's more of a hunch.
Well, I think it almost entirely depends on if the Browns can put the right environment around them. Because I mean, that's what happened last year.
Honestly, that's the best plan. Just give them a good receiver. If y'all went 11-5 2 years ago, just give them a good receiver. Give them a good, you can't win unless you have a good team around them. They can build a freaking good team.
I mean, that would kind of seem to make sense for Baker Mayfield's career trajectory, though, right? You got he had a good rookie year. He took a step back in his sophomore season. In his third year, he did well. In his fourth year, he kind of took a step back, mostly because of injury. So his fifth year, would make sense that would be, an up year, right?
I don't understand why we're judging him on his why we give him credit for playing. We're judging him for playing hurt, but we're not judging him for playing healthy. I don't get that.
Well, because him playing healthy was less recent, I think.
But he was hurt.
I mean, you're talking about Lamar Jackson. You're like, what have you done for me lately? And I mean, I think that's where people are with Baker.
Well, but here's the thing, though. Lamar Jackson, he did that while healthy. His stats were because he did his stats happen when he was healthy.
Baker Mayfield's stats. Year.
Well, yeah, but the part of the year that he played, that he was healthy for, he sucked.
It doesn't seem to me like Lamar Jackson was healthy at all this year. It seemed like he had lingering injury issues.
Well, then how come he's not getting the same insults that Baker Mayfield
if you're gonna say that, you have to hold yourself to the same standard.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. Baker Mayfield, what have you done for me lately?
Okay. There you go. But I think that's probably all we got, Thomas. We've been going for almost an hour now, and I think we're just kind of like grasping for topics to talk about. So this is going to be the last week of 2 episodes a week, guys. After the Super Bowl, then it's the off season, and we are back to 1 episode a week during the off season. But trust us, we're going to be bringing you the best content we possibly can. Just 1 episode a week, and that's partially just because there's less like talking points to talk about during the week when it's the off season. So,
and I make sure to figure out TikTok live sooner than halfway through the episode.
Okay.
It's booming right now. Look at this. It's booming. Look at that. Look at that. Look at us. Look how good we look on TikTok.
Oh, there you go. But anyway, guys, that's all we got. So thank you so much for watching. You can always find more of what I do at Kyle Phelps92 on Twitter, Facebook.com/ThePhelps. My YouTube channel, which is just Kyle Phelps, and I'm actually in the middle of producing a video right now, which is basically just what was life like the last time the Cincinnati Bengals were in the Super Bowl. And trust me, it's interesting because both me and Thomas were not alive at that time. So I'm doing everything that I'm putting into this episode is stuff that I had to go and do research on because I don't remember it because it's been 34 years. But yes, I'm putting together a video. What was life like last time the Cincinnati Bengals were in the Super Bowl? And there's a bunch of interesting content in there. And in fact, all of this content is so old that I don't have to worry about copyright infringement. That's how old this shit is. But yeah, you can find Thomas at T_star94 on Twitter and Instagram and on YouTube. And obviously, if you're watching us on TikTok, you already know. But if you're watching on YouTube, probably later than now, you can find him as the Thomas J Network on YouTube and TikTok, and definitely want to go check that stuff out.
That was some good stuff.
All right. So that's pretty much all I got for this one, Thomas. So I'm gonna leave y'all as always with a hootie.
Go Browns. Go Browns.